All right, music fans, welcome back. Harmless Dave here, talking real music in real time for a few real people out there, just like you and just like me. The punchline of the topic is how David Lee Roth, or you could call it a title, how David Lee Roth broke up Van Halen. I'm talking about the first time. And it's a story that's out there, but there are some interesting details I'm going to fill in here for you on a very slow day on the current music scene. Before I get to that, here are First Signal. What is First Signal? Is it a pregnancy test? No. This is a concept band that's been around for a number of years. I probably would say 10 years, maybe. Could be longer, could be less. This is one of their albums, Closer to the Edge. I got this last year, I think early last year. And it's good. If you like Journey and Def Leppard kind of mashed together, First Signal. And again, I hear First Signal and I'm like, could be a pregnancy test. I'm sorry. It's just Harry Hess is your lead singer on this project. And the guy has got some vocal chops for sure. So again, check out this great artwork. I love the imagery, being closer to the edge. I feel closer to the edge every single day. A number of different edges, right? The end of humanity, getting closer to that, possibly. The end of our financial system. There's some dollar bills, by the way, that float around in this artwork. It's kind of hard to see, but there's some money falling out of this person's basket, which makes sense. We just print more money, right? Okay. I could do a video just on this topic, but let's talk about David Lee Roth, because that's exciting, right? Dave's always in the news. He's always putting out new versions of old songs. And sometimes they're really, really bad. Anyway, if you go back to the 80s and you look at the situation where David Lee Roth just walked away from Van Halen, just walked away. There were a number of different high-profile breakups in the 80s where bands were at their peak. I think of Peter Cetera walking away from Chicago. He tried to negotiate a deal for himself, but Peter didn't try to do a movie career. No, David Lee Roth planned to write, star, and direct a movie based on his life in 1986. CBS actually gave him a $10 million budget, CBS Films, which is a lot of money at the time to give to somebody who had never starred in a movie. Now, despite storyboarding, as they call it, casting and picking out costumes, the movie was canceled due to the financial struggles of CBS, and Roth ended up suing the studio for $25 million. It didn't get more iconic than musician David Lee Roth. Now, here comes the puff piece here about Roth. He was the lead singer of Van Halen during the band's classic period in the late 70s and early 80s. I would say pretty much all of Van Halen is a classic period. If you like Dave better, I get it, and I understand. However, the Sammy years, some of those years were really good years. But they say much of the success of Van Halen is owed to his unique, energetic presence. Dave is unique, that's for sure. Even now, he's extremely unique. It's impossible to overstate how important Roth was to the success of earth-scorching singles like Panama and Jump. I don't know if Jump is an earth-scorching single. The writing tends to be very generic. Yeah, Panama, you could say. Hot for Teacher maybe is another earth-scorching single. But Jump was pretty much the product of Eddie Van Halen noodling on the keyboards and coming up with really good riffs, and then Roth writing some interesting lyrics, but very basic, rudimentary lyrics during a commercial break. That's what he says, anyway. Roth eventually parted ways with the band to embark on a solo career, but it didn't quite go according to plan. Really. Granted, he found success as a solo artist, but his original plan was much more ambitious. If Roth had his way, he would have been a rock star and a movie star. Let's delve into what went wrong and what could have been. So David Lee Roth caught the acting bug in the mid-'80s and decided to write a movie loosely based on his own life. He pitched the idea to CBS Films, and the studio loved it. According to a 1986 article by Metal Edge, CBS Films gave the rock star carte blanche to write, produce, and co-direct the movie with Peter Angelis, who had directed several of Dave's music videos. Oh, so we're going to MTV music videos to a movie. I'm not sure that happens a whole lot, or it did happen a whole lot in the industry. I think that was kind of a risky move as well. Anyway, the studio gave Roth a $10 million budget. That was sizable compared to Prince, for instance, who got $7 million to make Purple Rain in 1984. The movie was titled Crazy from the Heat, after Dave's debut EP, and the story was about a rock star named Dave who's forced to leave the country after his agent gets involved with some dangerous people. Oh, man. This might have been something that it sounds very Weekend at Bernie's to me. The parallels to Roth's real life are obvious. Really? As he was arguably the biggest rock star on the planet in 1985, and he told Metal Edge that the script was based on people he's experienced and endured in the music business. The movie would have carved out time for Roth to debut new songs, many of which ended up on his solo album Eat 'Em and Smile. And Nile Rodgers, the revered disco producer, actually I would say funk producer, and Nile I think has produced more rock albums than disco, but anyway, he was tapped to do the score. Great producer, by the way. So that was a smart move by Dave. But Gene Simmons said something insulting about David Lee Roth, and Roth responded saying the notion of a Roth scripted movie in which he runs around a tropical island may sound too ridiculous to be true, but all of the rock star's claims were verified when the original screenplay for Crazy from the Heat was leaked online in 2018. So I'm thinking Gene might have seen the script since he was an insider and thought to himself, man, this is stupid. But it sounds like something Dave would do. The screenplay is 77 pages long, which translates to roughly 80 minutes of screen time, give or take a musical number. And there's lots of sex comedy shenanigans involving women in bikinis. Yeah, this sounds like a Dave movie. It's very much in line with Roth's reputation as a notorious womanizer. That's interesting, because I've heard some different information about David Lee Roth, and it doesn't involve women. Anyway, so Dave wanted to rebrand himself as an actor following his messy split with Van Halen. The only reason it's a messy split is because he walked away when they were on top. And, you want to know why Eddie Van Halen had substance abuse problems? You want to know why Ed was probably more reclusive and more difficult to deal with? He didn't take this well when Roth decided to just leave. They say here the band was at their commercial peak when Roth decided to leave, but he was confident that his charisma would result in him being just as big, if not bigger, than he was with his guitar playing partner, Eddie Van Halen, who they don't mention in this article. Acting was going to help him do it. So, this whole vaudevillian, I'm David Lee Roth and I'm here to make the band fun and so forth, that's good. I mean, those early records benefit a lot from Dave's R&B tendencies. He certainly composed music that was fun to listen to and almost danceable at times, which is weird to say when you go and listen to Van Halen music. It had a certain gloss to it and a certain rhythm to it, and that's partly because of Alex Van Halen, who doesn't get any credit, obviously, here, but more so because of Eddie Van Halen. Van Halen did continue, obviously, without Dave, and they did fairly well. Sammy had a good solo career getting into this, whereas Dave had a brief solo career getting out of this, and then things went downhill really quickly. So everybody suffered in the end from the grunge music apocalypse, which happened in the 90s. By that time, people weren't interested in David Lee Roth solo albums, and he released quite a few that almost did nothing when they were put out there. And some of them were pretty good. But Van Halen continued until the mid-90s, and then, things just went south when it comes to relationships between Sammy and Ed, and probably Ed and Michael Anthony. Who knows? The definitive book will be out there someday. There should be a tell-all Van Halen book which talks about this, all right? And the blame should be on David Lee Roth for just walking away and thinking he could become a movie star. And I think leaving the band in a lurch like that was really stupid. Did he think they weren't going to go on without him? So any critiquing that Roth has done over Sammy Hagar is really stupid, because he's the one that caused Sammy Hagar to be in Van Halen. And I don't think it was a stupid idea at all. I think it continued a great band. And personally, I like both the Dave years and the Sammy years. Do I think the Dave years are better? Technically, I think some of those songs are better overall. And I think there are more albums to choose from, obviously. And then Dave comes back later on for a different kind of truth. I never thought another Van Halen album would ever get made with David Lee Roth, but it did. And so you got to give him credit for that. But as far as any of this recent David Lee Roth, Van Halen redo stuff, no. It's just there to confuse folks and to make them click on the wrong song so Dave can earn some revenue. It's not a stupid idea. It's just everybody is doing this kind of stuff. People later on record their own versions of songs that they recorded while they were in the band. And typically they're horrible, or they're not even close to the original. But because, we're all streaming stuff, we find the song and we listen to it. And then 3 minutes into it, we're like, or even 1 minute into it, we're like, what happened with this song? This isn't the right one. And there are a lot of people, as they get older, they're going to do that more and more, just because, senility kicks in, the hearing goes out a little bit. It's like, I'm listening, but it kind of sounds like the song I remember. I'm just going to keep listening to it, and so that's what's going to happen. Anyway, here's a band that's newer. You should check out First Signal, Closer to the Edge. Has a Def Leppard Journey mixture thing going on. I think it's pretty cool. It's different. It's different music. If you want to go and listen to some different music, there it is. And at some point, I'm going to put together my top 10, top 15, whatever it's going to be for 2023. These are just random albums I've chosen this year. Many of them, of course, I've been showcasing throughout 2023 to tell you about where you can find new material. Next year, I think the focus is going to be narrower, even though I have many different musical interests. Some of those musical interests aren't as popular with my audience as they are with me. So we'll just leave it there. And in the meantime, thanks for watching. God bless everyone. Please pray for peace in the Middle East and around the world, and in our politics. Our politics in this country, as toxic as it can be, we need solutions to problems. We don't need problems to complain about. If you want the problems to go away, you need to be the solution.